Okay, I'm bringing you my thought process on the 2023 running back market. It is set to explode, to crash, to do whatever it's going to do because of all the draft prospects and all the free agency players that are coming in. Okay, so I'll bring you my thought process on that. But before we get into it, I just want to tell you about patreon.com/fantasylandfam, where we have a ton of new things coming up on February 1st. Positional rankings, superflex rankings, the rookie profiles that Zach and I spend an enormous amount of time on, looking at film, kind of diving into these players, looking at history, so you guys can understand who these players are and who you should be drafting in your 2023 rookie drafts, guys. So once again, patreon.com/fantasylandfam. We appreciate you. Make sure you drop a like and a comment on the video, and we'll answer any single one of your questions. But let's get straight into the video. Okay, the running back market, it is set to, in my opinion, crash, reset, just be a complete disaster in 2023. Okay, let me just tell you about the 23 class. I'm not going to go in deep dive on each and every single player, but let me just tell you the group of players that are coming in. There are 17 running backs coming in, right, in total, and these are the ones that we have scouted. There's still probably so much more that Zach and I haven't scouted, that probably a little bit lower, probably going to go in the 5th, 6th round, potentially maybe even be undrafted, that we just don't know about as of yet, right? In my opinion, there are 5 potential workhorse running backs and 12 running backs that could have a 50% workload. So like a role player, right? A guy that can be a backup to somebody, or a pass catching guy, a third down guy, right? Then that was 17 running backs. Keep in mind. Then we have the free agency market, people that are already in the league so far and are looking for contracts, maybe looking for a new team, whatever the case may be. There are 15 free agent running backs in this class, or in the 2023 market. Obviously, there's a tremendous amount of names. I think there's some names in here that probably will get re-signed. But I'll name a few: David Montgomery, Kareem Hunt, Damian Harris, Jamal Williams, Rashad Penny, a Jerick McKinnon, a Jeff Wilson. These are guys that could potentially take workloads away from your running back. So I took the liberty of going through each and every team, every 32 teams, and I broke down what has happened, and look, and what the running room looks like, right? The running back room looks like. So I can't break down every single team, but what I broke it down into is how safe I feel, the in-between, and teams that are at risk, okay? So I have 9 teams that are safe, in my opinion, and I'll name the teams. Once again, I'm not going to go through every single team, but I'll give you a quick snippet of what I believe in that team. 49ers, Seahawks, Packers, Giants, Jags, Colts. And these are the teams that I'm giving the benefit of the doubt that they're going to continue to invest in these guys, but maybe due to injury or contract. The Jets with Breece Hall, the Broncos with Javonte Williams, and the Raiders with Josh Jacobs, who I believe are going to, they're going to re-sign him. They can't let him go after this year. Then I have 4 in-between teams that I believe that could draft another running back, maybe because somebody's on their contract year, maybe because somebody's getting a little bit older, maybe because whatever the case may be. I think they can have a somewhat of a 30-20% role that I doubt that's going to truly eat into their workload, but believe that, hey, maybe something could happen, right? The Bengals with Joe Mixon, a potential running back, can come. The Ravens with J.K. Dobbins on a contract year, maybe a potential running back or a potential replacement, even if they don't want to continue with J.K. Dobbins. The Steelers with Najee Harris. Is Jalen Warren really the guy? Do they bring in another guy potentially? But I believe in Najee. And the Browns and Chubb. Okay, I like Jerome Ford. I think he is a capable backup. But they are getting rid of Kareem Hunt, who is a free agent. Dearness Johnson, who is a free agent. But can they bring in somebody? Nick Chubb's an older back, 26, 27 years old. I think they're in between. Maybe they need to figure out some things with that team, right? Then the teams that are at risk. I have 19 running backs, 19 teams that are, in my opinion, at risk to lose their workload or split the time with somebody, right? Once again, I can't go through every single team. So if you have any questions, if I didn't speak about your team or your player somehow specifically, comment down below. I'll give you my thought process on them, and then we can have a conversation, right? So I'll name some teams, and then at the end, I'll tell you some snippets of some teams that I believe could be at risk, or players that maybe have a workload that could be at risk. The Rams, the Cardinals, the Bucks, the Panthers, the Falcons, the Bears, the Eagles, the Commanders, the Chiefs, the Cowboys, the Titans, the Bills, the Dolphins, all the teams I believe and running backs on these teams I believe are at risk to lose their workload or potentially split their workload with the expectation that we didn't think about that coming into the 23 draft market. Then I have a couple other teams. I have 2, 4, 6 teams, quick maths, 2, 4, 6 teams that I believe are maybe a little bit surprising for people, but maybe not. But hear me out. The Saints with Alvin Kamara, I think this is maybe not as surprising, but we know the off-field drama with Alvin Kamara. He could have been suspended. Maybe he's going to be suspended next year. Coming into 2023, what's going to happen? I think he's up in the air. Something can happen there. Another team that could be surprising for some people, the Vikings and Dalvin Cook, right? Technically, the Vikings and Dalvin Cook do have a couple more years on his contract, but they have an out right now in 2023. So if they find a younger running back that maybe falls to them in the draft, right? If I'm not mistaken, I think they're picking 24th now or 23rd in the draft. The Vikings and Dalvin Cook could potentially split ways, and maybe they get a younger guy. Do they get a Jahmyr Gibbs in the draft? A similar player, a guy that can catch the ball and run in between the tackles. Do they get, a Miles Sanders? Do they get somebody else in free agency that can come in and just either take away or replace Dalvin Cook at a cheaper price? The Lions with DeAndre Swift. Look, Swifty, I love Swift, but we saw, and every single year we see that he can't handle a 17 to 18 workload type of game. So what I believe could potentially happen, maybe they bring in another Jamal Williams. Jamal Williams is a free agent right now. Maybe they re-sign him, and maybe it's a 50-50 workload. But I think the expectations is that we need to reevaluate. I believe in the talent, but maybe we need to reevaluate the potential demand and potential workload that DeAndre Swift can handle, right? The Chargers with Austin Eckler. Austin Eckler surprisingly is on a contract year. I don't know if this video is out before our buy or sell high running back videos, but he is on that list and he's on a contract year. And I can definitely see the Chargers moving on from Austin Eckler. They're in the middle of the pack team right now in the NFL draft, whether they want to save some money or get a younger running back, because Austin Eckler is 27 years old. As much as we love him, finished RB1 this year, RB2 this year, RB1, RB2. I think maybe it could be time to move on. The Texans with Dameon Pierce. We all love Dameon Pierce and how his fairy tale story came about, but he was a 4th round draft pick. Not that high of a draft capital. Maybe they bring in somebody else, or maybe they bring in a free agency like a David Montgomery or Miles Sanders to kind of split that workload with Dameon Pierce. Anything can happen. And kind of the same thing goes with Ramondre Stevenson. Not as high draft capital. Do they bring in somebody else to kind of take over that workload? So these are the teams. Once again, 19 teams I believe that are at risk, and maybe your team is on that list. It's going to be, or your team or your running back is on that list, and it could be tough. Right? So you're probably saying, okay, what are the next steps? What's the purpose of this, right? I have 3 steps, in my personal opinion, that you could potentially do. And it may not be exciting, but maybe you need to see if you need to be doing this. Maybe you have one of these running backs on your teams, and you're saying, okay, maybe Daniel's right. Maybe I need to kind of figure out the market and see where he values at. Okay, number 1, pretty simple. Get the handcuff. Right? Whatever happens in the offseason or during the draft, let's say Dameon Pierce comes in and they draft a Zach Charbonnet. You have to go and get Zach Charbonnet, and they get him in the 3rd round. Maybe there's not that much draft capital, right? You'll probably have to spend that whatever you have to do. Maybe it's a Ramondre Stevenson and they bring in a Miles Sanders. You have to try and get the Miles Sanders. You have to get the handcuff, whatever the case may be. You're going to have to try and acquire whatever running back that comes into your team, to your running back room, right? Because if you do not acquire them, and you might have to pay a premium, because if you do not acquire them, then you're in limbo going into the start of the 23 season. And that's not exactly what you want. You want to have security on your team. You want to have security in your running back room. And this is what I'm scared about. I have so many teams and so many running backs that are at risk, right? I have a lot of stock of Ramondre Stevenson, have a lot of stock of James Cook. All those guys are at risk, and I might have to potentially get their handcuff or their predecessor to on my team, right? Number 2, get rid of the running back, right? If you have Ramondre Stevenson, there's a good sell high opportunity right now. If you have an Austin Eckler, there's a good sell high opportunity. Both of those guys finished in the top 10. James Cook, who is potentially a guy that could potentially skyrocket in the offseason, but when the draft comes, his value drops because they draft another running back. Devin Singletary is a free agent. Maybe that is something that you're going to have to do, right? I think we have to look into every single running back that we have and say, what are the chances of them, getting a running back in free agency or potentially acquiring a running back in the NFL draft. So do whatever you can to potentially get rid of them and maybe get some draft capital, maybe get a high first, maybe try to move up in your rookie drafts, because maybe getting a secure guy like a Bijan, like a Jameer, like a Zach Charbonnet or Sean Tucker, in my opinion, could potentially help your team and put your team more at ease going into 2023. And lastly, you have to trade for maybe some of these guys that are not at risk, right? You might have to pay a premium, maybe give up a couple a first, maybe give up a wide receiver, whatever the case may be, to kind of get a running back that on your team that won't be at risk or have any question marks. Okay, I have a couple guys that you could potentially get right now that are not at risk, or I believe is going to continue to be a good steady workload and won't get their workload split coming into 2023. Josh Jacobs, once again, I give him the benefit of the doubt because I believe in the Raiders and that they can re-sign him. Travis Etienne, just hitting the brim of what he can do. To be completely honest, he can go take it to the next level. Breece Hall obviously has that injury. I don't think they're going to invest in a running back, but if you can get Breece Hall, who's still only 21 years old, to be on your team, I can see him skyrocketing in the next couple of years still and being safe. Saquon Barkley, the way he's playing this year, the way he played this year, I think the Giants will continue to keep him on this team. CMC, another guy on one of the best offensive lines, have the best offensive head coach, a good team, a run-first team. I think CMC is fine for at least another 2 more years, even with the age. And Ken Walker, we've seen what he can do in this year and what he has done, and I believe he is safe. I think if there is somebody that they're going to bring in, it's probably be a third down guy that's going to take away the passing opportunities, but Ken Walker is going to have all the goal line, all the first and second down, potentially, and even third down, because he can catch the ball. We saw the opportunity there this year. I think Ken Walker is safe. So those are my 3 things. Once again, get your handcuff, get rid of your running backs at risk, or trade for one of the running backs that are not going to be at risk coming into 2023, and then kind of reevaluate what the market is going to do after the 23 season. Guys, I think we need to realize that the 23 running back fantasy outlook is going to look different. I don't think we're going to have these home run hit numbers anymore. We kind of saw that shift this year kind of with the Zeke and Pollard. Obviously, Zeke is a little bit older and Pollard was there. Pollard clearly finished higher in the fantasy perspective and Zeke was lower. But they kind of had the similar numbers. They kind of were averaging 12, 15 points per game at times, both of them. And I think we need to see that drop. I'm seeing more of a 10 to 12 on a split backfield, where a guy that's getting a full workload, like some of the guys I'm saying, which is, mind you, only a handful, obviously could get to 20 plus. But there are 19 teams, I believe, that's going to have a split workload, in my personal opinion. And we're going to see a 10 to 12 point games, and we're just going to have to be happy with that. We can't expect the Austin Ecklers to come out and give us 25 plus points. We can't expect the Derrick Henrys or the Dalvin Cooks to hopefully give us 15 plus, 20 plus points. We need to reevaluate our expectations of the running back fantasy outlook and how much they're going to be producing for our team coming into 2023. So those are my ideas. That's my thought process. Just wanted to get it out on video and have you maybe have a conversation, start a conversation of what you think. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Once again, comment, subscribe. Let me know if you have any questions about your running back, or maybe a team I said maybe your running back's at risk and I didn't really talk about them. Comment down below and let me know what you think about this video and the thought process.
Yo, what's good? Thanks for watching. We got a lot more videos.
A lot more.
If you want more videos,
watch it.
You can also subscribe
right now
if you want to.
You need to.
And lastly, don't forget that you can sign up to support the show and get exclusive content by going to patreon.com/fantasylandfam.